This is a quad DE filter by Pentair. It's a new filter type. It's a kind of a hybrid. It's got cartridges in there that you add DE to. So it's not strictly a cartridge filter or a DE filter, but a combination of both. Okay, you're going to need a 7/8 socket wrenched. You're going to also need some silicone lube or magic lube for the O-ring, a mask when you put the DE in, and a bag of DE, and a 1-pound coffee can or a DE 1-pound scoop. And we want to turn on and charge up the filter and let any air out of the filter. And we'll turn it off. You want to make sure it stays off at this point, either by turning the breaker off or knowing that it's not going to come on from the tripper. So we're just going to take this bolt off, and we'll just remove the clamp and set it down there. I'm going to go ahead and turn the pump on to use the pressure to blow the lid off. Give it a little push like that. And there's a drain on the bottom. You can actually open it up to get it out if you don't have a backwash valve with your quad DE filter. And it should just be hand tight. I was able to get it off with my hand. And you can see it looks like a cartridge filter, but you can see the DE actually coating the grids, trapping the debris. Kind of a unique filter. And just like a cartridge filter, we'll take this top manifold off. It should just pull right off once you get it out. I'm going to go ahead and pull one of the cartridges out. You can see it's built into a stem, which is kind of a different design than a regular cartridge filter. It's also got an air relief here you want to clean. We'll hose that off too. We'll need a high pressure nozzle to hose off the. I'm going to just hose them off really good. Get all that air off, like I mentioned. You notice I hosed it off in the grass, and it's very harmless to the grass. Now there's very low amount of residual chlorine on here. You don't want to backwash your filter into the grass, of course, because there's a lot of chlorine coming out of your pool at that point. But this is fine. I've been doing this for years, and it doesn't damage the grass at all. It's a good way to get rid of the DE without it getting all over the place. A couple technical things about these cartridges for the quad filter. They're really lightweight. They have a material that's similar to what a grid would have on them versus the cartridge filter. And the filter itself is plumbed like a sand filter than a regular DE filter. Now this particular one doesn't have a backwash valve, but the warning from Pentair is that you don't want to use a regular push-pull backwash valve, say for an FNS Plus or a Hayward type filter, because what happens when you backwash a regular DE filter, the grids fill up with water on the inside. If you have one of those standard backwash valves on your filter, what happens if you do that, these grids will fill with water on the inside and they'll actually explode and ruin these cartridges. So they sell two specific backwash valves for the quad DE filter. They sell a multi-port valve like you find on a sand filter. So again, a warning, you don't want to take out your FNS Plus filter or your Hayward filter and put a quad in and use that backwash valve. And they fit really snug on there. When you push down, you can actually feel them fitting on there. And like a cartridge filter, we want to make sure the top manifold is in there good. I'm going to put the drain back on. I'm going to spray it with some silicone. And you notice the drain has an O-ring that probably will wear out also. Keep an eye on that. I'm going to loop up the O-ring here. You notice also that the quad DE filter is kind of squat. It looks like it's about a 48 square foot filter, but this is actually a 60 square foot filter. Now according to the Pentair rep, you can also run these without DE as a standard cartridge filter. You're not going to get nearly the filtration without the DE in there, but you could, as an option, run it without it if you decide to do that. But again, it won't get that the same filtration ratio that DE by adding DE will give you. There's also a spring on top that kind of pushes up the lid when you push down on it, which may make it a little more difficult to get on. But it should go on there snug once I get the clamp on there. And of course that spring is there to hold the cartridges in there a little tighter, and that's a good idea because they're pressed against the top of the filter lid, which means they're not going to move at all inside this filter. And again, if you don't find the lid going on easily, then definitely change the O-ring. I'm going to tighten that up. You want to keep tightening it until there's no gap in this spring here. Keep going. And that's plenty tight. There's no gap at all in the spring, and you can see that the clamp is on around the filter good. Yeah, let's go ahead and turn it on. I'll charge it up with DE. You want to do a quick check for leaks around here. No leaks at all. You want to make sure the drain's not leaking either. That's not good. You also want to make sure there's no air still in the filter. Before we add the earth, you want to make sure you clean the pump basket out. That way the earth doesn't get obstructed in there. So normally a 60 square foot filter we would put 10 1 pound coffee cans of DE in. But with the quad DE filter they only require 6 pounds for the 60 square foot. Okay, so what I like to do is I put the first 1 pound can in, and I like to check the return line, make sure there's no DE leaking back in. And it looks good, there's no earth coming back in, so I'm going to put the rest of the earth in. And you want to add the earth slowly and wait as each scoop dissolves in there, otherwise you might clog the pump up. And that's how you clean the quad DE filter.